Lisbon is one of Europe's most beautiful and vibrant cities, full of hills, tiled streets, amazing viewpoints, and incredible food. But with so many different areas, it can be hard to know where to spend your time. In this video, I'm breaking down 6 of the most important neighborhoods to include Baixa, Chiado, Bairro Alto, Alfama, the small riverside area of Cais do Sodré, and the western area of Belém. I'll tell you what to see and do within each neighborhood, the best spots to eat and drink, where to stay, and even a few things you might want to skip. Let's start in the very center of Lisbon. In this district known as Baixa, what you see here today only exists because of the Great Earthquake of 1755, which destroyed much of the city. When Lisbon was rebuilt, this became the first neighborhood in Europe designed on the grid plan, with wide straight streets and uniform buildings. That's why Baixa feels so different than the older maze-like quarters, such as Alfama. This is also the flattest part of the city, and I would recommend staying in this area because of that. The atmosphere in Baixa is lively. It's where locals and visitors cross paths every day. You'll see grand plazas, tiled facades, and wrought iron balconies, but what really stands out is the contrast. Some buildings are faded and crumbling with chipped stone and peeling paint, while others have been beautifully restored, glowing with color and detail. Lisbon has been going through a wave of revitalization over the last decade, bringing some old buildings back to life, but also pushing rents higher and slowly changing the neighborhood's character. The main stage of Baixa is Rossio Square, which has been Lisbon's gathering place for centuries. From bullfights to celebrations to political rallies, its most famous feature is the wave pattern pavement, laid in the mid-1800s. The style of black and white stonework was introduced right here in Lisbon. The stones were hand-cut basalt and limestone, and many of the laborers who set them were actually prisoners working off their sentences. Today, this wave pattern is one of the most recognizable images of Lisbon. You'll see it echoed all across the city. From Rossio Square, you can stroll to Rua Augusta, the pedestrian boulevard that cuts through Baixa towards the river. You can't miss the dramatic Santa Justa elevator, built in 1902 with an Eiffel Tower kind of vibe. It looks great from the street, but paying to ride the elevator up to the top viewpoint is one of Lisbon's biggest ripoffs. You can reach the exact same viewpoint from the Carmel Convent side for free. At the end of Rua Augusta, you'll find the Triumphal Arch, built to celebrate the city's reconstruction after the earthquake. Climb to the top and you'll be rewarded with panoramic views over the whole downtown grid, the castle above, and the enormous Praça do Comércio, Lisbon's grandest square along the Tagus River. Once home to the Royal Palace, it is now a vast riverside plaza framed by the yellow arcades. It's a spot where Lisbon feels both historic and open to the sea. Just north of Rossio Square is the Avenida de Liberdade, Lisbon's version of the Champs-Élysées. It's a wide, tree-lined boulevard filled with designer boutiques and luxury hotels. Not the most sight-packed street, but definitely one of the city's most elegant walks. And since Lisbon is famously hilly, a great way to see more without wearing yourself out is by taking a tuk-tuk tour. They'll zip you around all the major sites, and in just a half a day you can cover more ground than you could ever on foot. I'll link a couple good options and other tours in the description below. Lisbon's food scene is all about simplicity, freshness, and tradition. It's not fancy, it's soulful. Locals love dishes that celebrate the sea, like grilled sardines straight off the charcoal, creamy codfish casseroles, and clams cooked in garlic cilantro. For comfort food, try a bifana, a garlicky pork sandwich beloved by locals. Or a francesinha, a rich layered meat and cheese sandwich smothered in spicy sauce that's perfect after a long night out. And of course, no meal is complete without the Pastel de Nata for dessert, warm, flaky, and dusted with cinnamon. I'll tell you where to get the best ones in just a few. Lisbon's food is rustic, comforting, and best enjoyed slowly, ideally with a view and good company. Now let's head over to Alfama, Lisbon's oldest and most atmospheric neighborhood. Unlike Baixa, Alfama actually survived the Great Earthquake of 1755. The reason is partly geological. This area sits on more solid rock compared to the softer soils down in Baixa. Because of that, while the lower part of the city collapsed and burned, Alfama's tight medieval streets and stone houses remain standing. That's why walking through Alfama feels like stepping back in time. The atmosphere is intimate and authentic. The street plan is essentially unchanged since the Middle Ages. A maze of winding alleys, steep staircases, and hidden courtyards. Cars can barely fit here, which is why you'll often see people moving goods by hand or even trolley carts. Alfama is also home to some of Lisbon's oldest landmarks. Perched on the hilltop is St. George Castle, with roots going back as far as the 1st century BC. The views from up there are beautiful, but honestly, the entry fee isn't worth it, especially when Lisbon has plenty of free viewpoints that offer equally stunning panoramas. Alfama isn't really about ticking off a list of attractions. It's about wandering slowly, getting lost, and soaking up the lived-in charm of the neighborhood that has seen centuries of Lisbon history and somehow survived it all. Next up is Chiado, Lisbon's elegant and cultural quarter. If Alfama feels medieval and Baixa feels grand, Chiado is where Lisbon shows off its refined side. It's been the city's artistic and intellectual hub since the 19th century, full of theaters, bookshops, cafes, where writers and poets once gathered. The neighborhood was badly damaged by a massive fire in 1988, but it was carefully rebuilt, so today you'll find a mix of historic charm and modern boutiques. Walking through Chiado feels sophisticated, wide sidewalks, fashionable crowds, and plenty of energy. Chiado is also home to a Guinness World Record holder. The Bertrand bookstore, founded in 1732, is officially recognized as the oldest operating bookstore in the world. By day, Chiado is cultured and elegant. By night, it flows right into the nightlife of Bairro Alto. This isn't a neighborhood you come to for a single attraction, but for the atmosphere. Strolling between bookstores, ruins, cafes, and shops, soaking up what many locals consider the intellectual soul of Lisbon. Just up the hill from Chiado is Bairro Alto, Lisbon's nightlife district. By day, it's surprisingly quiet, with narrow cobbled streets, colorful buildings, and laundry hanging from the balconies. But once the sun goes down, Bairro Alto completely transforms into one of the liveliest parts of the city. This is where locals, students, and travelers all mix together for a night out. The streets are lined with tiny bars with each of their own music blasting, and the tradition here is to grab a drink inside and then spill out into the street. It's loud, chaotic, and full of energy, a very different atmosphere from the elegance of Chiado. Food-wise, Bairro Alto isn't the best neighborhood for dinner. Most of the restaurants are tourist-oriented and not the greatest value. A better idea is to eat out in Chiado or Cais de Sodré, then come here after. What Bairro Alto does really well are late-night bites, like Bifanas or prego steak sandwiches. Bairro Alto is not polished or elegant. It's gritty, loud, and a little messy, but that's part of the fun. If you want to experience Lisbon after dark, this is the place to be. Heading down the hill towards the river, you'll spill into Cais de Sodré, one of Lisbon's liveliest districts. Historically, this was a rough and ready port area with a reputation for sailors, bars, and brothels. But in the last decade, it has been transformed into one of the city's coolest neighborhoods for food, drinks, and nightlife. The most famous spot here is the Time Out Market, a massive food hall with over 30 vendors. Every stall here represents some of Lisbon's best chefs and restaurants in miniature, making it a perfect place to sample a little bit of everything. Just around the corner is Pink Street, literally painted pink, which has become one of Lisbon's nightlife hotspots. The street itself is more of a photo op than a true bar destination, but some of the surrounding area is full of clubs and cocktail spots. By day, Cais de Sodré has a different vibe. You can relax by the riverfront promenade where locals hang, listen to music, and watch the ferries come and go. It's a reminder that Lisbon's a very waterfront city. By night, it's loud, wild, and fun. It carries a little of the gritty past, but that's part of what makes it one of Lisbon's most unforgettable neighborhoods. Finally, let's head a little west of the city center to Belém. But before arriving in Belém, stop for an hour or so at the LX Factory. It's a former industrial complex turned creative hub, and it sits about halfway between the city center and Belém. It's a cool place to wander around. It's full of boutique shops, a unique bookstore, and a few bars and restaurants with a little street art everywhere. Now to Belém, the neighborhood most closely tied to Portugal's age of discoveries. In the 15th and 16th centuries, ships set sail from here on voyages that brought back spices, gold, and knowledge from around the world. Today, Belém showcases Lisbon's grandest monuments and its connection to the sea. The highlight is the Geronimo's Monastery, a masterpiece of mandolin architecture built in the early 1500s. Its intricate stonework is covered in maritime detail, all celebrating Portugal's seafaring power. Nearby stands the Belém Tower, once guarding the entrance to Lisbon's harbor and now one of the city's most photographed landmarks. You'll also find the Monument to the Discoveries, shaped like a prow of a ship, lined with statues of Portugal's most famous explorers pointing out towards the Atlantic. And of course, Belém is home to Lisbon's most famous pastry, the Pastel de Belém. The original bakery, founded in 1837, still serves them warm straight from the oven. These are the best in the city, but if you can't make it to Belém, then Montegaria is a close second. There's almost always a line, but it moves quickly, and if you're on a tuk-tuk tour, they often stop here and help you skip the line entirely. Belém makes a perfect half-day trip. Explore the riverside monuments, tour the monastery, grab a pastel, and stroll along the Jardins de Belém, a park filled with fountains and statues. It's the grand finale of Lisbon's story, where the city's rich history meets the edge of the sea. Each neighborhood has its own personality, and the magic of Lisbon is how easy it is to move between them. If you only have a few days here, focus on the neighborhoods that match your style. History, food, nightlife, or just wandering the streets. But if you've got the time, exploring all of them is what really gives you the full picture of Lisbon.